Okay, thank you.
Deputy Grealish.
Look, and I just have a number of questions. I might ask them all together if that's okay to the various groups. And I want to thank the various stakeholders for coming in and giving us their presentation. And I know Peter, for a while, I got elected here in 2002, and insurance was an issue at that time also. And Mary Harney brought in the Personal Injuries Assessment Board at the time to try and deal with it. As I was a businessman myself, and I seen my insurance premium going from 14,000 up to 78,000 at that particular time. And I'm with Tom Ryan, the Director General of the GAA. I'm chairman of my local hurling club also, and it's a big issue. And we have a health and safety officer within our club to ensure that the grounds are up to standard, that we don't have a claim, and it's a big issue with GAA clubs. Just a number of questions, Chairman, if it's okay, just to put to the various groups. Peter, you had a meeting. I raised this issue at Leaders' Questions recently, and there was a meeting to take place with the Taoiseach State between yourself and Minister Darcy. Maybe you might give us what was the outcome of that meeting, and were you confident coming out that something will happen, or were you deflated? And following that meeting, I think there's a box-ticking exercise going on here at the moment by Minister Darcy, the government going around holding these public meetings. Seemingly they're behind closed doors. From what I can gather, I got my invite at the last minute to go to the one in Galway, and which I couldn't go to, and I wanted to go to, but unfortunately I couldn't change my diary to attend it. I'm just wondering why you invited the one in Galway, or had you any engagement regarding the agendas on the meetings? The Personal Injuries Assessment Board, is it working, or does it need reform? Or is there too much influence by the legal profession on claims that's going through the Personal Injuries Assessment Board? And I'd like to know, number three, to the various members here, and I'm very sorry to see the Galway rally cancelled. My own nephew used to be involved in that. God be good to him, passed away. But how many events are being cancelled, roughly, around the country now due to insurance? And I know that probably the GAA is the second largest landholder outside the state. I think the Irish Public Bodies Insurance Scheme, who insure all the public bodies, public streets, public parks, they need to get involved. They need to start working with groups, the Min's Shed. They need to start working with various charitable organisations to provide insurance cover. A lot of these events take place in public parks, and you're being charged, and you have to show that you have 1.2, 1.5 million insurance cover up front. And I think, have you any engagement with the Irish Public Bodies Insurance to see can they work with you? I think they should, and maybe, Chairman, I'm not a member of this committee, and maybe they should be brought in here and maybe answer, can they work with you on various events? What engagement do you have with the major players, the insurance scheme companies? Will they engage with you, or will they talk to you, or will they? I know they're answerable to one person, and that is their shareholder. And that's all they want to do at the end of the year when they publish their accounts, to show what profits they've made, and that's what their goal and objective is. I met with the insurance regulator there a number of years ago, and to be quite honest, it was a waste of time. He told me his hands is tied. He has no control or no influence whatsoever over insurance companies, and maybe that should be reformed. The GAA, I want to compliment the tremendous work that the GAA do. They are an organisation that's in every village, town and parish in the country, and it is a huge issue, as Thomas said, insurance, to make sure that every grounds and every facility is up to standard. And I just wonder, what inspections do you carry out? Have you someone that goes out, or are the county boards under instructions, or have the county boards health and safety officer to make sure that all grounds and pitches are up to a high standard? The quick fix that was asked. But I'll finish on that, Chairman. Just on the GA, is it getting more and more difficult to ensure all the grounds out there? Are they putting more and more stipulations in your way as to the huge amount of property that is under your vested control? And I think it'll come to a stage that they'll want an audit of every single property before they start insuring. But I think Irish Public Bodies Insurance Scheme has a big role to play in this, particularly with events like the Galway Rally, the Min's Shed, and organisations like that. And Peter, I want to compliment you on the tremendous work that you are doing in trying to achieve reform. And Gormagat Cahirlock.
Thank you, Deputy Greenish. I'd let the panel there take whichever part of those questions you wish, starting with maybe Mr. Ryan there.
Certainly, Cahirlock. If I can remember them in sequence, Deputy, PIAB, I suppose we would have certain reservations with regard to how that operates, and the biggest single one there would be the permissible elapsed time between an incident happening and it being reported to PIAB. That presents a practical difficulty for us, purely because of the nature, and you've mentioned it yourself in the context of your own club, purely because clubs are run by voluntary people, and we're imposing a significant burden on those people in terms of risk management, in terms of reporting and recording risk, recording adverse events. So what will typically happen is, if a club is unfortunate enough to suffer an event and it takes a couple of years for that claim to materialise, we'll be in a very weakened position in terms of being able to defend that, purely by virtue of the fact that the clubs are run on a voluntary basis. And the reason that people get involved in GA clubs is because they're interested in hurling and football, not because they're insurance professionals, I suppose. So that would be the elapsed time would be our difficulty with regard to PIAB. You asked about Irish Public Bodies Insurance. We did actually, in fairness to them, they did engage with us at the point of our insurance renewal, and we did have discussions with them. We didn't pursue that particular course, but just to be fair, they did actually engage with us, Deputy. You asked about insurance, health and safety officers and insurance officers in counties and in clubs. We do have a designated insurance officer, or we have a position of an insurance officer in every county. I can't attest 100% to all of those positions being filled. As people will know, it's difficult, and that would be one of the, I suppose, indirect manifestations of the difficulties that the other organisations have mentioned here today. It's difficult to get people to fill voluntary positions. The burden, both in terms of time and responsibility that entails, means that poses a challenge for the GAA no more than any other organisation. But we do have that position. There will as well be typically a health and safety person in a club, but again, it's voluntary, it's subject to the constraints on people's time, and it's not the core activity in the club. Now, we have found that our insurers, you mentioned the concept of an audit and so on properties, that is something that we're trying to engage ourselves at the moment in partnership with our insurers, and we're in the throes of going around club to club and recording all of the particulars of the particular property. It was mentioned in the context of the sheds. GA clubs are the same. They can vary hugely. In some cases it'll just be a pitch. In other cases it'll be a very significant leisure complex and so on. But that exercise is ongoing at the moment, Deputy. And forgive me, was there another specific question?
Some of the Ms. McGuinness, do you want to pick up any points with that, Deputy?
I suppose they don't really apply to us because we are marked, but in saying that, what we do as regards health and safety, yes, as our new licensing with the PSRA and everything, we have to do drover training each year, and all the staff have to do that, and we also have a health and safety officer, and we have a health and safety manual, and we have to check it each year. But we also have department inspections each year, and I think the rules for marts are changing. The department and new licensing laws, they're coming into effect in October, I think, this year. So yeah, all that is kept pretty much up to spec. So that's really all your questions that would.
Sure.
Yeah, just on one point, you just touched on the engagements, in terms of engagement with insurance companies. Just in terms of men's sheds, it can be very difficult. An awful lot of insurance companies won't even provide quotations to men's sheds, and that can be a bit of an issue. So there's a limited availability out there, which kind of skewers the marketplace then as well. If there's more option, there's more competition and better options for people. So that is a challenge out there for us as a national body, but for individual sheds when they look for their individual policy from an insurer then as well.
Okay, taking them in order, I think. Thanks for the questions. With regard to engagement with Minister Darcy, we met him and his civil servants in March. We weren't aware of the roadshow meeting in Galway last week, or sorry, at the start of this week. We are well aware of the one in Cork next Monday, and quite a few of our members are anxious to attend that. And obviously we've been keeping very close to the Cost of Insurance Working Group updates. It's been a little bit dispiriting, to be honest, because what is, in fairness, a very good initial report seems to have run out of an amount of steam. We did an analysis of the latest update to the CIWG, which was issued quietly the Friday before last. And of the 48 actions which are ticked essentially at this stage, 22 of them amount to meetings or consultations. So they're not actions as such, they're additional consultations. So we don't sense the urgency which is required on this issue, because this is an issue now, not an issue in 5 years' time. In terms of PIAB and how our view on that, we believe that PIAB is very worthy. We believe it deserves our support. It's in a lot of ways, it's a model for what might be done to reduce the cost of court cases, but it is being undermined constantly, and we have a serious concern. For example, at the moment there are 2 new directors being appointed by the Minister, and one of those will be a lawyer with experience in personal injury claims, and at the same time there's no representative, specific representative for policyholders on the board. And it looks a little bit to us like throwing a fox into a chicken coop, to be honest with you. So that's an issue from our point of view. In terms of engagement with the insurance companies, as you pointed out yourself, Deputy Grealish, we were involved in this very issue in 2002-2003. We engaged quite a bit with them at that time. Really got nowhere, and in truth, I'm not surprised. Their job is to protect their members and the interests of their members, and part of that obviously is the profits of their members. So we don't expect them to vote for Christmas. It is down to you as policymakers to implement the change that needs to be done, because it's not going to be done by either the insurance industry or the legal profession. In relation to IPB and the use of IPB, it would sound like a very worthy issue. I think it's going to be a long-term one. And what we're looking for is immediate actions which will address this situation. In relation to the cancelling of events, I might defer on this one to Colin Croffey from IFA to give a bit of an insight into events being cancelled.
Thank you. From our figures, something in the order of 75 festivals and community events have lapsed in the last 36 to 48 months. And we've just concluded, we do a national advice tour to the 26 counties in the Republic, and we've 22 of those counties done since January, and we would have met over 180 festival and community event organisers, and it's invariably in the top 3 of issues they will bring up with us is what are we doing about insurance, and what can they do as community organisers and community event organisers to reduce these increasing burdens, and that's why we're involved with the Alliance. I think what Senator Kieran mentioned earlier on, are we at a crisis point? We're at a crisis point from 2 points of view. One, the industry is fashioned the way it is, but from the community and voluntary sector, I think my colleague Mr. Tom Ryan from the GA mentioned it, it's increasingly difficult to find volunteers to come into the space, animate committees, take responsibility for the regulatory framework that's there, and then go raise the money, when almost a third to 40% of what you're bringing in from the hospitality industry, from sponsorship, from fundraising, from ticket sales at gate, to hand over for a premium that really is of no value in one sense to us. And you're caught in a bind, because if you don't have the insurance, you can't even be a member of a PPN of a local network, or you can't even apply to a local authority for a small community assistance scheme unless you have evidence of insurance and adequate cover for the activities in which you undertake. So you're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. It's deeply frustrating, and I am involved in this sector for 27 years. There are no lifers left in the festival event scene in this country. The Brendan Flynns of this world and the Harry Hugheses of the Willie Clancy, they are like as scarce as hen's teeth now, with the level of difficulty that's forced upon us by, in particular, this issue. And I wish it wasn't so. And I think it is incumbent upon our policymakers to change the playing field. Or we're going to have an island which will not be as animated or as vibrant as we are telling the world it is.
Senator Burke and